Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Dr. Mo Show. Today I am here with Natalia Motoc. She is a good friend and member in one of the masterminds that I am involved in. And she has been with me through pretty beginning parts of my journey in this space, the space of wanting to get a voice out, wanting to showcase other people's voices, which is really that's what we all want to do is connect, find our tribe, know how we will succeed. And the subtext of this podcast, of course, is health is everything. So, Natalia, I want you to introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then we'll talk about health.
Sure. So as Dr. Mo said, hi everyone, I'm Natalia, Motoc, my last name. It's a little bit difficult to pronounce, but my maiden name was way more difficult. So this one is.
Okay, what was your maiden name? Now we need to know.
Okay, so originally, like from where I come from, it's spelled Crăciun, which if you translate it means Christmas.
Oh,
But everyone used to say it in all sorts of different ways. So as soon as someone said, "What's your last name?" I didn't even bother to pronounce it. I spell it like right away. So let me just give you the spelling.
I love
You
it.
figure out how you want to pronounce it because it's different for all. I came in United States 17 years ago as a student. I applied for an exchange program and I got accepted twice. And from the first time I came, I decided that this is my childhood dream and I'm going to accomplish it. And I'm going to go back, finish my bachelor's, and then come back and stay because that's where I was feeling free from everything that I was used to, the way I grew up and the society and everything around you. And I felt free. I really did in this country, even though it wasn't easy. I was very young and, life hit me because back home I didn't have a job. There you finish high school and then you go straight to college. There is like now these days things have changed a little bit, but from my days, you would go straight to college to get a degree and then go to work. So coming here and actually being able to get a job as well and be able to support myself throughout those summer 3 months was a challenge. And on top of that, I volunteered in it was a student program for summer that was back in Tennessee where college students from US also volunteered to do a program. So it was very interesting where I learned a lot. And that's where my days started. So when I came back, I had small different jobs, but then my actual career started in a recruiting firm where I started as a recruiter, having no idea what that was about. Like they offered me the job without me even knowing what I was. It's like a long story there. But I've spent my last 13 years working with people, working with different organizations, and starting from recruiter and growing up to being the executive director of operations. I've seen every single level of an organization and I've seen it, how it's growing, how it's not, what's lacking and whatnot. And it was just a lot of details that I was able to embrace, number one, and then number two, learn from it. So today I left. Now I'm starting my own consulting firm within the same bucket, I would say, of consulting companies, but at a little bit different level on recruiting, hiring, training, retention, and all of those good things that an organization is looking to have. So that's shortly about me.
So I have two questions. First one, you said something that really piqued my interest. You said, when I came here, it was the freedom. It wasn't
Yes.
easy, but it was the freedom. Tell me more.
Um, When everyone knows the movie Home Alone, right? We're around Christmas time, so I've already played the movie a couple times, and my kids love it, even though they're still young. When I was their age, 5 and on, I was watching the movie, and because I remembered, like I was very young, I still remember how I was sitting at home on my couch. It wasn't a big couch like we have here now. It was smaller. and the TV was maybe like 5 feet in front of me, smaller TV as well. Um, Back in the days, it was black and white. We were lucky that my parents were able to get a color one, so the movie looked way better. And I was watching the movie around the holidays, and the first thing I noticed was there were no fences around homes. In my country, there is fences, and there is big fences, right? Tall, where you cannot see in somebody's yard. And that's the whole purpose. You can't see what I have in my yard. And the first feeling I got from the house seeing no fences was this is free. Like you get out of your home, like in the morning, you open the door and it's all wide and bright and clear, and you can see your neighbors and you could talk to them. And that feeling of where they get the cup of coffee and they are on their porches and they talk to each other, that was for me, that was like, and I was a kid, I didn't understand, but that's the feeling that it stuck with me. So when I came to US, my motto was I'm gonna go to a country that advertises for freedom. And US was the only country that advertised for freedom. So that's that's what stuck with me. And as years went by, which is 30 something years from there, that's what freedom means to me. It's everything that you could see clear in front of you, and there is no bridges, no fences, nothing around you to feel stuck in. Starting from that little feeling of wanting to say something and wanting to do something, like you literally feel free to do whatever you want.
I love that. You saw as a child from a movie most of us have seen, right? Most of us have just watched, not thinking any deeper, not, but you realized that felt like potential.
Yes,
That felt like potential. Like I can do anything. I can see the world. You saw beauty in the world where you could do anything.
I did.
And that's amazing. That's
I did.
amazing.
Even to this day, some people ask me what's your favorite movie, and even if it's not a movie for adults anymore, it's still my favorite movie because once I start telling the story behind it, they understand why it's my favorite movie. I mean, there is a lot of other better movies out there, right? But it didn't make an impact on me, and this one did. So it's gonna be my favorite movie forever.
Absolutely. It changed your life. It
It
changed
did.
your life completely.
It did.
So, leaving an established recruiting firm that you had spent and given many years to, opening your own, tell me what, not what made you do that. Nothing's going to make you. One thing I've found out, especially in coaching physicians, is that quite a few people are given the key to the door. They put the key in the door and they can't turn the key. It's really hard. What what really bubbled up inside of you to say, no, I would like to do this in my way. Not that they're doing it poorly, but how can I create this life, create this freedom more in my own way?
I'll put it out there very simple. Corporate America. A lot of things, obviously, a lot of small details that it just did not align with my vision anymore. And it was the best place I could have started my career at. It's where I grew. It's where I've learned a lot. It's where I've met a lot of people that have helped to build myself to where who I am today. So there is nothing negative to say about anyone because I did not take any negatives from it. I only took the positives. Because if you take everything in a constructive way, you're able to construct and build further, and not become the victim. I mean, your own victim or victimize yourself that somebody was unfair to you, because that's not the case. It was just a time for me to move on and do something that I have always dreamed of, to make an impact on a larger audience rather than the ones that were given to us. And I've learned a lot of things. And one that actually touched me was the comparison that I was always doing with people. Like in recruiting, you meet thousands of people, and I've placed a couple thousands of people in jobs. And when I was hearing different stories, like they have an argument with a supervisor where they didn't like the shift or they didn't like the pay or they didn't, whatever small details, overall, I don't like the job. When I used to hear that, I would ask myself, how can a person sit in a job without loving it or liking it at least, or just like liking what they do, not as much as liking who they do it with, right? So I would never, for 10 years in a row, I was like trying to figure out the people and their thinking and their mentality. Why? Like, why do they stick to a job that they don't like? And I would always tell myself, if I ever get in a position like that, I'm just gonna quit the next day because I don't want to feel miserable or unhappy or used or however different excuses I was given from employees that was working with. And that day actually came where I was not feeling happy anymore. And it was different reasoning behind it. But then I got stuck in my own, thinking like it took me a couple years before I made the bold decision. It's like somebody gave me the key to turn it, and I had the chance to turn it and leave, but I didn't. And after a few years, I've realized one of the reasons that I couldn't leave was the team that I built with me, and I felt so bad of leaving them behind. Like I got so connected to the people and seeing their growth, with me for the past few years, and now to have to drop everything and leave them, I felt like I was going to disappoint them or let them down. So I stuck with them until I it became a health issue. I was not feeling not only emotionally healthy, but physically. I was already not able to concentrate, and I would oversleep instead of, undersleep. And I couldn't figure out, like it took me a couple months to actually put one and one together and figure out what was going on with me as a person that I'm just not here. Like I'm here physically, but I'm not here with my mind, my brain, my thinking. And I said, I cannot continue doing this. I have to make a change. So I started working on that. But again, it took a couple of years until I was able to put two and two together. And then I was answering my own questions as to people that I've talked to 10 years ago, and they would tell me stories and things, and I couldn't understand. So again, it takes time. It's only a matter of, do you really want to make a change? Do you really acknowledge what's happening with you in order to make a change? Because now that I've started to study a lot more of the human mentality and thinking, psychology, relationship wise, between employer and employee, it all comes together. It's just people just don't give the time of their day to really understand why, like the reasoning why behind all of this is happening.
That is really very valuable because a lot of us don't slow down. We don't slow down. We don't breathe for whatever reason. Midway through October, I told myself I have got to slow down. I've got to de-stress. I've got to start creating more white space. I've got to start delegating more. I've got to start delegating correctly. This is my goal for
Yes,
2025 because I'm not clear in what I'm looking for in return, right? If you don't tell people what you want, you're not going to get it ever. And it's funny because I felt the same way. I felt in my job, I was feeling like the shoe didn't fit anymore. Like I kept trying to change the job to meet who I was becoming, and it wasn't happening. And it was internally frustrating for me. And then I actually was changed, my boss changed my location of my job to a smaller ER because I didn't fit. And it was pretty obvious that I no longer fit.
mhm.
And it's just interesting. Like you said, you start feeling a lot of unease, physical symptoms. I ended up with
Yes.
chest pain, landed me to the cardiologist's office, got a diagnosis of coronary artery disease. That has
Oh,
made me
wow.
really stop. Like you said, I have to stop and say, okay, what's important? What are we going to do next? How are we going to manage this and going forward? And like you said, community, and that's what kept you in that job was the people, right? And once we
Yes.
form those, it's hard to leave the people. It's very hard.
It is hard. And what got me caught into this whole career growth slash chase, I would say, was that, hyperness, and that like I was prioritizing my career so much, and I was chasing success, right? Starting as a recruiter and ending up as an executive director of operations in just 9 years was huge. Even for this organization where I was at, in the whole history of the organization, no one was promoted every single year in so many positions. And even they said, like, you're the only one that was promoted, and not because I asked for it or anything. And I never asked for even a salary increase because results were talking for themselves. And I went by it, and I said, I'm never gonna ask for anything unless they see it and they decide themselves that I deserve it. So in this road of chasing success, and success is great, like we're all wanting to be successful and be someone or impact someone, but then at the same time, recently I've always realized, you know what, success is good, but it's also dangerous because you get lost as a person in what you're doing. Success derails you. And that's why we see so many famous people like ending up, overdose, or ending up in divorcing so many times, or ending up losing everything. It's not because of their poor judgment. It's because they are so concentrated on being so successful that they basically forget where they're coming from and what their end goal is. Like you get lost, and you forget family, or you forget friends, or you forget someone close to you that maybe they're telling you, hey, you gotta slow down, but you can't because you're just so hungry of getting or achieving what you're planning for. And again, success is great because I want more successes, of course, but now I've learned a lesson. I know when I need to slow down. I know when I'm rushing. I know it's not gonna get me anything good at the end of the road because I might end up the same or worse. So I have learned so much in the past 2 years about myself, and then seeing, listening, and remembering other stories of people I've talked to in my whole career, that it makes so much more sense. And that's why I am starting to work on this personal plan that I have in helping people, of course, helping organizations first, but my end goal is the people. I want the people to be happy. So in working with organizations, one of my thing is how to become or how to be a happy employee or a successful employee, right? Not a successful entrepreneur or a successful leader, or you can become any leader you want if first of all you are a happy employee, which I was as well. I was very happy in my career, in what I was doing. That's why the results, because you don't have your mind concentrating on bad things, negative things. You're happy with what you do, that all the things that you do pile up on your success, and it just comes to you without even you looking for it. So that's how I see the things, and that's why I want to help organizations to make sure they help their employees be happy and stick around with them. So yeah, it's not always a happy story with every single employee, but most of it can be done.
I love that. How do you find balance between your drive for success? And like you said, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. I mean, this life is no joke. Not everybody wants to sign up for this. So if you're looking, but anyone who is a happy employee, is a good employee, wants success. How do you balance that drive for success in yourself with being able to step back and relax and check out, be mom? No one else is going to be a mom to your kids. No one else is your kid's mom. How do
Right.
we back off, spend time with family? Where is the happy medium?
You know what? That's actually a very it's a very interesting question because recently I have started, looking more into work-life balance. And in reading a couple, things and articles and studies, I actually have come to realize that there is no such thing as work-life balance.
Agreed.
What I have come to name it or label it, however you want to call it, it's work-life integration. And that comes back to what I was just talking about, feeling happy or being happy in your workplace and vice versa at home, because, it works hand in hand. If you know how to find that medium in integrating your job with your family and then your family with your job without, overcrossing or passing those barriers to affect your personal life and your work life, I feel like that integration is the result or is the key to maintaining a healthy relationship between home and work, and then family, work, work, family. And I'll give you an example. My industry, where I come from, recruiting, there is no such thing as 9 to 5, right? It's 24/7. People call you on and on. Not only your employees, like your clients can call you, a supervisor can call you. Things happen at midnight, you have to be there and you have to be available. Now, depends on the model of the family you have and the rules that you have established, and all families are different. If they are bothered by you getting a call at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, you have to have that conversation at home, and you have to establish rules from your spouse. Where do you want me to be, you know, career-wise? Do you want me to have a career or not? Because if you don't want to see me in a career, might as well I do get a 9 to 5, or I better get stay at home, and then we're gonna have a happy life with no interruptions, but then you provide. And then vice versa. If the husband, or let's say the wife, is bothered with things that are being involved, at work, that the spouse brings home, it's the same thing. There has to be a conversation, and there has to be established a rule around what's going on and how much you can accept. Because if it happens like a lot and on, then look at the end results. What is this dissatisfaction bringing us? Is this bringing us benefits at the end of the day or not? Because if it's not, if it only damages our privacy and our peace, then changes need to be made at work. And then again, it works the same way around. If things that's happening at home bother your job or your career, or it bothers your day-to-day tasks at work in order for you to be successful, then there has to be a resolution and a solution there. So that's why I say work-life integration is always best. And I've started talking about it recently, versus work-life balance, because there can never be a balance between work and personal life.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. There's no way this is going to be balanced. It has to be just somehow good for all parties for the most part. I mean, even my husband and I, we were both full-time. 2 years ago, we were both full-time emergency physicians, shift work. And my mother lives in the area because there's no way we could do that. But we always had protected sleep. We still do. I mean, he still works full-time. My shifts are minimal now. So, but he has protected sleep. He's working in 30 minutes. He's actually getting up from bed right now because, there's no child responsibilities, there's no home responsibilities during that protected sleep time. So, I think that's a kind of a respect that we just, we understood. Would we like to have dinner at 5 o'clock every day? Well, I'm not that kind of person, but he would love to.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on every single family model and what they like and how they've established rules from the beginning. And obviously, rules get broken, or you deviate from them, but then you come back to it and then you set a different set of rules. And again, like you said, it's respect. So you as a spouse are understanding of his job, and you know that his job is valuable, and it's not only valuable to you, but it's valuable to other people. He's saving lives. And then same goes around your schedule, right? If he knows that right now you are in a podcast, nobody can knock and bother you, then there is this mutual respect that everyone respects each other's goals and desires and wishes, and however you want to call it, because my career to me right now, or my future, is a goal that I've set, right? And I did have a conversation with my husband as well. First of all, it's going to take time, because I have to read a lot, and I have to document a lot, and I have to watch a lot of courses, or do all of these things that, even if I am home, let's say, I'm not going to be there to sit with you watching a movie on the couch for the whole day, right? So that's one of the rules we've set. I am going to be busy with this. Even if I'm home, I'm not home. Like I'm busy. So working with these small details does help build also a healthy relationship, because in turn now I know when his turn comes and he wants to do something, I have to do the same. Not because I don't want to. I want to support him as well, but then there is also that thin line that we just can't cross. Like we are husband and wife, but there is also some sort of privacy and respect towards what we do.
I completely agree. And I think that's missed a lot. Maybe not, right? Because the only people I really see are the ones in my house and then the ones on social media, which we know are all curated and look different. But like you said, when, it's a risk benefit. We talk about the same in medical treatments that everything, and I always say this to my coaching clients because I'm coaching primarily, even in my own practice. I don't do the medicine part any longer. I am a coach primarily. Everything we take in, like you said, we read courses, we read books, everything we take in, there's a risk and a benefit. You lose time taking the course. Is the benefit worth the course, the money spent, right? You're taking money away from your family, and I do the same to invest in masterminds or invest in books and courses. And it is a risk benefit. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to kind of set those, not boundaries really, because that word gets a little overused, but is it worth it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And again, to me, working on yourself has always been probably one of the best investments, whether it's time, money, or losing a friend or losing anything else. Obviously not family, but in general, like when it comes to time and money, like investing in yourself, I think for anyone, should be a priority because it does pay off down the road. A material thing, you buy it and it gets overused and then you toss it and that's it. It has no meaning anymore. So I've always said that anyone that I will have a chance to coach or to teach or anything around that area, to say personal development will be number one advice that I would give. And then, or maybe not number one, I would still put health number one. But again, it all depends on how or what stage of life every person is in. Because now coming back to why I started doing what I'm doing and why I've decided like that's it. I just was not feeling not even happy anymore. I was just feeling lost. Like you just wake up in the morning and then you just become a robot. You prepare your kids for school, you take them to school, and then you go to work, or you come home and you're like, what's next? Like, what do I do from here? I've had days where I would come back home and I literally did nothing. I would just either lie on the couch or just go back to bed and just be there. And not even, people like when they're tired or they just go to bed, they get some rest and then they wake up and they go back to doing what they're doing or start thinking. I didn't even have that. I wasn't even thinking anymore. I didn't even have the power or even the interest, to put it this way, of thinking of what do I want to do. Like it was a very rough couple of months until I started to slowly get back into being interested in myself, if to put it this way. And I don't want anyone to get there. And I know why it's happening. Like a lot of the times it's family related. In my case was not. In my case was not family related, and the reasons could be a million other reasons of why people get into unhealthy lifestyles. Some can overeat, some undereat, some don't sleep. Like, you know, um, reasons could be many. And you are from the industry, you probably know hundreds or if not thousands of stories of why people get into unhealthy lifestyles. But for me was crucial to get back on being normal. And luckily for me, I still had that um, clarity that this cannot continue. This cannot go on for more time. Like I was feeling, like uninterested, but then I still had that one small thin thread left that I have to get up. I have to get going and I have to do something and I have to make a change. And many people say it's for my kids, it's for my family. I'll be honest, it was not for anyone.
Mhm.
It was for me.
Good.
Because yeah, a lot of the things we do for the kids, but then kids grow and go. So then what happens when the kids go? Am I stopping living for myself, or am I stopping doing what I like to do? And my thing was, I have to get up and do this for me, because that's why I came to this country. And that's why I always remind myself, that's why I came to this country, to be someone, not to just work and live a check to check life. There was not, and I just have this determination. And again, I'm happy I didn't lose it, even in the worst moments, how I felt, that I still reminded myself I came to this country for a reason, so I better keep my promise to myself.
I love that. I could certainly couldn't have said it better. And one of the amazing things you bring to recruiting then is you can find someone, whether it's an employer or an employee, a, a situation. You can help create a situation in which people can give of themselves, be of value to the company. The company can be of value back to them because you see the importance of that relationship. You're not just filling a spot. You are,
Correct.
yeah, you're matching, you're creating, you're co-creating with these people a relationship that's better for both.
Yeah, and this actually is it's a great point to bring up. This was one of probably my top success stories in my career, that I was not just bringing a warm body to a job. I have mastered so well the skills of interviewing and screening people, that it was enough for me 5 minutes to talk to someone and understand whether this is the right person or not. Because I have learned my clients so well, and I exactly knew what they're looking
Mm,
for. So even if a person presented well on a resume, in person it was the whole opposite of what my client was looking for.
mm,
So I would never rush in just sending them someone because that was a top A resume and it was gonna match perfectly. Because in speaking with a person, you have to also have that common sense of, why do I want to waste somebody's time, my client and this potential candidate, to send there just because? So being able to match the exact need of a client with that position was very, very crucial, because I wanted to set up that person for success and grow within that organization, rather than have to replace them the next week or two, which would have been obviously same exact extra amount of work, or if not double in often cases, to replace that person. So making sure that the people that I would place would feel happy was number one thing, because everything is teachable. And even if 3 or 4 skills on that resume were missing, that candidate didn't have, I at least knew and assessed that they had the potential to learn them very fast. So a personality-wise candidate was more valuable to me to place to a client, rather than someone with skills but really bad attitude. Not saying I did not work with the others. I did, and I tried so much to work with them. Of course, there was a line that we couldn't pass, but I tried to also work with the less qualified candidates, personality-wise, to be able to place to jobs, because we needed to help everyone. It wasn't just we pick and choose. And I've had some great success stories there as well, with some guys that I still keep in touch with today, where they were looking, at least giving the impression of being unprofessional or being rude, or it took me a couple conversations to talk to with them personally and then on the phone, until they kind of like, softened down and started to see that, people put a mask on their face, right? They pretend they're someone when they're really not. And you'd be amazed how many people I've discovered to be so soft inside versus on how they look on the outside. And it's not their fault. It's life. And that's what life taught them to how to be. And of course, these things affect their lives in general because people think they're rude and they're not going to talk to them. But hey, let's give them the time of the day, which I have taken my time in a lot of cases where I did that. And like I said, I've had quite a few success stories with those candidates as well.
That's absolutely
So,
incredible. Yeah, well, that's a great thought. And I'm the perpetual idealist. So I will see the best in people for a very, very long time. So for people who do want to find you, whether it's for coaching, recruiting, anything that you do, people that want to swim in your circle, how do they find you?
so for most of my professional activity, I am present on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Uh, just my first and last name, Natalia Motoc. And I do have an Instagram page that I'm starting to build, which I have not released yet. So it's still private where I create content. But for right now, LinkedIn is my main go-to, where I have information and it's, all my work history and career and what I also do with the association, because I'm a board member of actually two associations. And one is in recruiting specifically, where we organize conferences and webinars and things like that for the people in staffing, but not only. Anyone, any organization can join one of those webinars and learn from experts that we bring on, whether it's on our annual conference or it's on our monthly webinars. So I'm present there as well.
Great. That is incredible. Well, thank you so much for your time. I can't thank you enough for your time. It has been a joy. So
Thank you, Dr. Mo, for the
I hope the
invite as
rest of
well.
your holiday is as Natalia as you are.
Thank you so much.
And
Same to you.
we'll chat soon. And for the listeners, we will see you on the next episode of the Dr. Mo Show.